welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. And now a man who considers an English muffin as an exotic foreign food. A man who needs no introduction. How you doing today, my one black friend?
I'm okay. Happy Sunday, Pocket Locker. How
Happy
about yourself?
Sunday, man. The problem isn't considering the English muffin a foreign food. The problem is if you think it's spicy. The problem is if your palate think that English muffin, because it do got a little bit of little hint, a little bite of something going on. But if that strikes you as spicy, we gotta talk. Um so yeah, this has just been kind of a crazy week. There's been a lot of things going on in the news.
Yeah, last week was the Grim Reaper week, just tearing through celebrity,
Yeah, they're just gonna
packing them up and sending them off. Yeah.
yeah. Quick shout out to the chat. Always love the students who show up to class early. Look at the trees is in the house. Carrie Ann is in the house. Sarah, always good to see Sarah in the house. Carrie Ann, Big Bad Mama. Okay. Me and Big Bad Mama was hanging out in Kentucky. Big Bad Mama has some secrets, some interesting things. What's up, Radical Punk? Oh man, it's so great to see everybody. Uh, we had a good time. We're gonna do a show about that. I think next Friday I'm gonna be talking to Seth, who used to work at the Ark
First
Encounter.
encounter.
So maybe we'll probably discuss my thoughts on the protest then, because I haven't really done any content about it. But yeah, so for this one, we're talking about Hulk Hogan, and the reason we're talking about Hulk Hogan is because I just feel like the whole Hulk Hogan situation is emblematic of a certain dynamic that still unfortunately is very dominant in our culture. And it is a problem for me. So basically what I'm getting at is, for the record, I'm happy to let people rest in peace. I don't. I get the idea. Okay, I understand the cultural norm of you don't speak ill of the dead. Okay, but with that being said, I'm going to be speaking ill of the dead, and the reason I'm going to be speaking ill of the dead is because I think it's a two-way street. Let's just face it: the way we feel about people when they pass is a direct reflection of how we felt about them when they were alive.
Right.
If they were a great person, really making the world a better place, we might weep or mourn for the loss of someone that brought real value to our lives. If a person is a sort of a jerk or a villain in life, then you're not going to see the same level of sympathy. Hulk Hogan, to be fair, is a mixed bag. He was, of course, at one point the most popular professional wrestler in the world, making him one of the most popular media, halfway sports media figures, especially with younger audiences. So now that he's passed, it's that audience that was with him at the height of his popularity as children have now grown into essentially the middle-aged men who run YouTube channels. And so what the reason we're here is because what's happened is largely there's been a sort of I want to say like a whitewashing of Hulk Hogan that happened almost immediately. And it wasn't necessarily to the point of people pretending he didn't do terrible things or that he wasn't a bad person, but it was more like, let's just set all that aside. Let's not talk about any of that. Instead, I want to ram down your throat. You have to feel really good about Hulk Hogan. You have to understand that a lot of us are mourning. And how dare you try to sully his reputation as we mourn him. And for me, it's just been kind of like, ew, what are y'all doing? You need to spend some time in self-reflection because first off, and I'm just throw some of this stuff out there because I know a lot of people probably don't know. Hulk Hogan, not only, you may have heard Hulk Hogan's like a racist and very weird sexual patterns and history, and ain't Trump. I was gonna say it isn't Trump weird, but to be honest, I do think him and Trump were closely aligned, and I think Hulk Hogan they have some similar personality traits. I'll put it that way. They have a very similar sort of narcissistic personality. I don't know if they got the personality disorder, but I know they both got narcissistic personalities, and it leads them to like be ruthless, to screw over other people, to not honor their deals, to be sex predators. A lot of stuff that they share in common. But Hulk Hogan also is, like I said, a notorious liar. Like if you look up on YouTube, you'll find movies or like hour-long videos just documenting all of the crazy lies that Hulk Hogan told. Some of them are just stupid, that like he was gonna be the bass player for Metallica, or that they originally wanted him to compete in the UFC or something like that. And then others are quite harmful. For instance, him pretending that the Undertaker injured his neck during a tombstone in one of their early matches that was very early on in the Undertaker's career, and we've checked it out on video evidence, and he didn't even make contact. So I mean, it's like, but that type of thing can be very devastating to somebody's career. Not that I'm a fan of the Undertaker. So how does that all lead us to the moment we're in? Is that is the cloud that was Hulk Hogan before he passed. He had become very well a known racist. There's stuff with the him being caught saying the N-word in reference to whoever his daughter was dating when he was, got caught on video sleeping with his best friend's wife, or whatever that whole fiasco was. But then, there's sort of racist history in the business, and then alleged racist practices, like even in his businesses, to like where, for instance, a black girl that was modeling for his beer got removed and replaced for a white girl for seemingly no reason. And then just the lies and sort of and then also you have to remember Hulk Hogan was not a very good person in the business. So there's another aspect of this that's very problematic. People are making out like Hulk Hogan's the biggest star ever in wrestling. Maybe he was. It's debatable, but he certainly was one of them. When I say debatable, you got to throw out names like Ric Flair. You have to throw out names like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You have to throw out names like The Rock. I mean, there are just other people in that conversation. But what I'll say is this: even that has to be looked at fairly. and he was a jerk. Like, yeah, he had the top spot for a long time, but he kept the top spot way longer than he should have. And
Mhm.
he otherwise sabotaged a lot of people's career by taking the top spot when it should have gone to somebody else, particularly somebody younger. Um, and other times where he would like take the top spot, oh, I'll beat you. But don't worry, I'm gonna drop the belt back to you, and then you'll be the man. Oh wait, I changed my mind. That doesn't work for me, brother. We're not gonna do that. So it has kind of been hard for me and others who feel like I feel to see this happening, because what it feels like you're seeing in real time is people never really cared. You never really cared about all of the lies. You never really cared about all the problems. You never really cared whether or not he was a racist or a misogynist or any of those things. You never actually gave a shit, because all of a sudden when he passes, it's just supposed to be let's polish his trophies, talk about how great he was.
Yeah,
And it
idealize
makes
the guy. Yeah.
yeah, and it makes people feel like overlooked and like, wow, like, especially like I'm seeing like black wrestling content creators do this stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, bro, man, what are you doing right now? Like, what are we doing? So yeah, so that's what I'm on. And so what I got first, I got two videos. One is by Steve Shives. He's a guy who's more in our space. He does more of the like political, social
Hmm.
commentary, but also happens to be a wrestling fan. So we'll hear from him. And then I have my homegirl that I listen to like on a daily, from Wrestling in Color podcast. She also kind of, I think, is on my take of things. But she is like a wrestling content creator, primarily. So it should be kind of fun. I think they're both going to be speaking to the issues, but very different personalities and presentation styles. So before we jump into it, my one black friend, do you have anything to add to this? I know it was a lot of preamble from me, but do you
Yeah,
have
it's
anything
all
before we
right.
jump in?
It's all right. So, as a teen, uh, my younger brother and I loved watching WWF, now WWE,
Right.
wrestling, and we thought it was 100% legit. My
Oh
brother
wow,
Rick,
interesting.
my brother Rick is like, no, it's fake. Those guys, blah 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 blah, blah. And we're like, no, Rick, you're wrong. What do you know about professional wrestling? Rick shelled out the money for premium seating for my younger brother and myself at the Fort Wayne Memorial Coliseum to go see the WWF when they came to Fort Wayne. We probably couldn't have had better seats. It's like, well, he knew people that run that place. But anyway, so we're sitting there watching it, and he's with us with a great big smile, right? He knows it's theater. And people are just going crazy, cheering my little brother, and we're going crazy. Hulk Hogan takes to the ring and does his match. And we literally could see them swinging and not connecting. And the other guy would react. And we both looked at my brother Rick, and
Oh
he's got his
yeah,
big grin on his face, as if he had paid them to do it just to see our reactions. And we're
yeah,
looking at him like,
yeah,
you're right. This
yeah.
is fake.
Now, what people might find interesting is there is they call it protecting the business. I hate saying that term because that just makes you sound like a smarky internet wrestling community person. But basically, when you go to like a live local show, those are called house shows. They're not televised. So in a sense they're fun. They're really fun because wrestlers can be kind of acting out a little bit. They do a lot of stuff they can't get away with on TV, so they have a lot more fun in that regard.
Hmm.
But they are known for not laying in their shots as snugly because it's untelevised. So if you're an inch away on a kick or a punch or something, it's no big deal. When you see them on like pay-per-views or you see them on like televised events, they tend to make more deliberate effort to make contact. Now they're still not going to try to hit each other hard, but it's just funny to think about that you will, that like if you do, you like, you kind of hit on the situation. If you actually want to see more of like a behind the scenes thing that would like expose it to you, it is actually better to go to a local show,
Well,
because
this
they make that extra effort when the cameras are rolling.
well, the Fort Wayne Memorial
Yeah.
Coliseum is not a small venue. It's a
No.
big venue, and that place was packed to the rafters.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so they probably sold every ticket on the first day. When they had that back then, and this is pre. I think this is before Ticketmaster or something like that. So you had to like call in or go in and wait in line. But yeah, it was, we had been watching Dick the Bruiser and Bobo Brazil and Junkyard Dog before we even knew what the WWE was. And Tim the Golden Lion, my little brother said, I bought a chili dog from Tim the Golden Lion at this little hot dog and root beer stand. Um, so for us there was like a specialness to it because there was a hometown feel, but now these were the guys from that traveled the world doing this, not the people we could go see all the time. So there was a bit of prestige to it,
Oh
and then
yeah,
to just
definitely.
watch it all fall apart right in front of me. But that was a valuable lesson. Let me For the parents out there, it was a valuable lesson for me because it showed me that something I fervently believed in and was into could be false.
I
And
always say
it,
that that's the pivotal moment for a lot of people. Like for a lot of people, I don't know why, they almost treat it like a magic trick, and it's like they feel when they find out it's work, they feel tricked, and they lose interest. For us, it was the exact opposite. Once we realized that it was work, that it was sort of theatrical, we just became more interesting, because that meant, we wanted to know how does that work, and who are what do these people really like, and how do they figure all this out, how do they put it together, and then you started to realize that you were into that art form, that storytelling.
well,
um
sure, sure. Have you seen the
yeah,
WTF episode of South Park? I forget
maybe.
which I forget which season it was. They sort of
I wouldn't know them by
poke fun
name.
at wrestling fans and wrestling. Actually, I think they do more to poke fun of wrestling fans than they do wrestling. WTF. It is probably in my opinion, one of the top 10 episodes of South Park that I've seen. It is so well written.
With the number
And
one being this new Trump episode.
I haven't, I,
I haven't
I
seen the
haven't
whole
seen the
thing.
Trump episode yet. I think, what is it called? Butter's Bottom Bitch is the best episode of South Park that
Wow.
I've seen, and I've watched almost all of them. And then there's one where they did like a Lord of the Rings kind of. The kids were into that, but there was this porno tape that they got, and they needed to return it to the video store. They got it from one of the parents, and they thought it was Lord of the Rings or something like that. So
Hey,
it was
Randy.
it was somebody in our audience is going to know what that episode is called. But it was really good writing because it was like the sincerity and innocence of children holding on to this tape that they absolutely should not have any access to. And you knew it. You, the audience, were in on it, and the kids weren't. So anyway, it was really a fantastically written episode. Well done.
All right, all right. All right, let's jump into the tape here. Here we go.
Hulk Hogan died, if you haven't heard by now. Hulk Hogan, real name Terry Bollea, dead at 71, apparently related to a heart attack of some kind. I haven't been much of a fan of Hulk Hogan for quite a while. I did a video about him some time back, not super long ago, but not super recently either,
Hey,
where I discussed the fact that,
hey,
he's
Dave.
been kind of a piece of shit for a while. At least we've known that he's been a piece of shit for a while. So when he comes out and endorses Donald Trump or speaks some other bullshit like right-wing talking point, or says he wants to body slam Kamala Harris at the Republican convention last year, or whatever, like it shouldn't be a surprise. Like we know this. We know this. He's a piece of shit. But when I was a kid, God, did I love that guy. When I was a little kid, a little wrestling fan, I mean, Hulk Hogan was my first favorite wrestler. And obviously he was the first favorite wrestler for, millions of people who were wrestling fans in the 80s and into the 90s. He was one of the big reasons why I became a wrestling fan in the first place. I think I've told this story before. The first wrestling thing I ever saw that made me go, ooh, this is something I'm interested in, this is something I want to watch, was the angle that they did building up to the Hogan and Andre rematch in February of 1998, where Andre was choking him out in the ring. I saw that on TV.
Now, see, this is very much like where your age will show, because depending on how old you are, you either saw sort of the rise of Hulkamania from nowhere. In other words, pre WrestleMania, even all the way through, versus, if you came along WrestleMania 3 time, versus like me, my first, I think Hogan. See, I don't know. I was born in '86, so the first one I remember was WrestleMania probably 9. So I remember looking back on WrestleMania 3. What is the difference it makes, y'all? One is like seeing this superstar's like whole career. One is catching it right at its highest moment and then riding it from there. Others is it's actually already on the decline. It's actually already on the backside. Versus if you came along way later, the NWO, you got a whole different, Hulk Hogan altogether, the bad guy Hulk Hogan that we didn't think we'd ever see. But yeah, all of this is fair. All of this is the standard Hulk Hogan narrative.
Through the channels, I guess, and I just happened to see it, and it just captivated me. And here we are, here we are, what, not quite 40 years later, but what, 37 years later? And I'm a wrestling fan still. I was a huge fan of Hulk Hogan as a kid. I was a Hulkamaniac. I remember at some point in my childhood, and I don't remember what this was in reaction to, if anything, but I remember the thought came to me. Hulk Hogan's going to die someday. And like, I'm probably going to live to see it because he's a lot older than I am. I had this thought as like a 9, 10-year-old. I don't know. I guess I was a morbid little kid. And I thought, Hulk Hogan's going to die someday. What's that going to be like? What's it going to be like to hear the news that Hulk Hogan, my hero, is dead? And today is that day. And I'm really not that upset. I'm not upset at all, actually, for Hulk Hogan.
Bye, Felicia.
I'm not sad that Hulk Hogan is dead, because, as I have said before, he was a piece of shit. He was a liar. He was a backstabber. He was a racist. He was a Trump supporter. He was a fraud and a con, and he was a bad guy. He was a bad guy.
And he was bad for the wrestling business. It's just so like, okay, I just got to get a couple things in there for y'all. Just because it's Hulk Hogan, and just because he was so fucked up, it deserves to be talked about. Okay? let's take Michael Jordan, for instance. I think Michael Jordan is the best basketball player ever. I get it. It's debatable. This is not the day for that debate. There have been certain things that have come out about Michael Jordan over the years that have definitely had his reputation or legacy take a hit. But so far, he's rolled through those things. But if it came out, that he had like all these other problems and actually like actively worked to sabotage other players and shit like that, like eventually it would change the reputation. And I think the same thing is here. Like what I think people are missing is I want to say, like, my thoughts were like, the world is trying to teach you something. Like pay attention. Because what a lot of these people are doing is they're like jumping in front of the bus. They're like, no, like Hogan was great. He made me feel great things as a child. I will not have any of this slander on his passing. And it's like, dude, just sit back and pay attention, because the world is trying to show you something right now. And what we're trying to show you is the times are changing.
Mhm.
And people don't want to hear that narrative of, oh, I know they were a shitty person, but let's set that aside so we can celebrate what they accomplished. What we're trying to tell you right now is if your character is not in order, we don't care what you accomplished. And matter of fact, it's insulting to us to insist that we overlook somebody being a terrible person just so that we can celebrate what they accomplished. More like so you can celebrate what they accomplished.
Mhm.
And it says something about you if you want to like set other people's pain aside so you can geek out on a nostalgic figure. And it is weird to be sitting here. I'm sort of thinking through my own history as a wrestling fan and drawing those same dots that he's drawing, but it is what it is. It's just it played out such that the way we would have imagined feeling about Hulk Hogan dying when we were children cheering him on in the wrestling ring is not how we feel about him when he actually died. And it's because of him. it's Hulk Hogan did things that I guess we would say really, really tarnished and harmed his legacy. And that's unfortunate. But the thing is, in a sense, it's not even about him. To me, it's about how really it starts with a certain type of energy. Like, let's just be real. There's a certain conservative core to all of this, right? Dana White, the UFC, Linda McMahon, right? The this TKO company and its leadership, they're very right wing, right? These are like Trumplican people, right? And that's part of the reason you always see them giving the red carpet treatment to Trump and his right-wing celebrities at UFC events. Same thing at WWE events. And you even see like right-wing stars pushed. And so that's part of the reason they keep bringing back The Undertaker. It's part of the reason they keep bringing back Hulk Hogan, right? And so it ties together. So check this out. The last time we actually saw Hulk Hogan was he was invited. It was like the opening night of Netflix, right? Because WWE recently did a huge deal with Netflix, like $5 billion or some shit like that. I don't know what it was. It's crazy. And they so they did their big debut on Netflix, and Hulk Hogan came out to promote his beer or whatever, and he literally got booed out of the arena. Like, just it was like boo, like get out of here. We don't want to see you. I don't know why you would do that. And he hadn't been on TV for years, right? So this is kind of there's this antagonism between the WWE and its audience, because the UFC audience is much more in line and like down with the right wing stuff. The WWE audience is not quite. They usually get a lot of pushback for those things. So the reason this matters, right, is because to me, you have this core of people, and a lot of them are white men, who are anxiously looking for opportunities to sort of sidestep all that DEI woke nonsense, right? And so they're kind of leading this charge, right? They're the ones who like, don't want to talk about any of his negative aspects and want to like shame other people who don't want to celebrate the life and times of Hulk Hogan. And then you have a lot of other people who I don't think realize that they're riding that wave, but they just get swept into it with the, yeah, well, I do just kind of want to celebrate and reminisce on his matches. There's like no shade. If you want to like watch some Hogan matches, like go for it. But it's that whole sidestepping thing that's really problematic. And I don't think people realize how easy it is for nostalgia and celebrity to really contribute to that. And I just think that, I guess for me, maybe probably because I'm a wrestling fan, that's what this whole Hulk Hogan thing has been about. It's been like, wow, okay, so that's how easy it is for people to just get behind this effort to totally rewrite the narrative of somebody. And it's like that. It's been very eye-opening. Yeah.
And I don't feel anything for him now that he's dead. But I remember being that little kid who looked up to him. I remember being that little kid who didn't know who the real guy was, who actually assumed that the guy he saw on TV every Saturday, or almost every Saturday, when he would tune in to WWF Superstars or WWF Wrestling Challenge, or if I was staying at my grandparents' house because they had cable, and back then my parents didn't have cable, then I could watch All American Wrestling or Primetime Wrestling or one of the cable shows, and maybe I would see the Hulkster on there, and he was my hero. And I thought that was the guy. I figured, that's him. He's not putting on anything, right? That's not a persona that he has assumed. That's not a gimmick. That's him. That's the real guy. Okay, sure. Maybe Hulk Hogan isn't his legal government name, but lots of actors use different names, but he's still the real guy.
It's so interesting who we do this with. And I think it happens with actors and movie stars, right? Like a certain actor plays a hero or super romantic, sweet guy in all of his movies. You assume they're that way in real life, and then you find out they're maybe not.
Very different person, yeah.
I just want to say, a lot of people think in wrestling, especially old school, that like in a way, a lot of times the good guys were the bad guys and the bad guys were the good guys. And you're like, how could that happen? It's pretty easy, right? So the good guys got cheered, they got lots of praise and adoration, they usually stayed in better places, and like because the company wants you to see them, right, and like associate them with the company, so they travel a little better and things like that. And then they made a lot of money, right, because they were able to sell more merchandise and do things like that, and ultimately they win a lot in the ring, right? Whereas like the bad guys, the ones who like makes the sacrifice for the business, because they're the ones, first of all, they get pinned a lot, or they ultimately lose in the storylines. They usually forego like sales and like autographs and merch and all that. That's they either don't get it or they get a lot less of it. And then like back in the day when they didn't want the good guys and bad guys to be seen together, they'd have to stay somewhere different. So if you go to some small town and there's just like two places, one's nicer than the other, y'all already know what it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's just always been interesting that like, and that's one of the things that you get to love when you go further into
Yeah, when
your
you dig a
wrestling
little deeper.
fandom instead of dropping it when you realize it's worked, is you go like, oh man, it's crazy. Like there are people who like know that like their job is to put the other person over and like make them look good, and like that's a whole part of the
It's like
dance of
working in
pro
the current
wrestling.
administration. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, who's gonna be the fall
That's
guy?
what I thought.
Yep.
I remember in the summer of 1990, they did this big angle on an episode of Superstars where Hulk Hogan, he did what's called a stretcher job, which means that one of the villains, one of the heels, Earthquake, he attacked Hogan and he hit Hulk Hogan with his finishing move like 3 or 4 times. And his finishing move was you get your opponent lying flat on their back, and then Earthquake would basically just jump up in the air and sit on their chest. Right? Because he was a big, as you might have guessed by his name, if you don't know who I'm talking about, the Earthquake was a big guy. So when he jumped up in the air and sat down on your chest, that was supposed to kind of hurt, right? So they did this stretcher job with Hogan where Earthquake gave him the Earthquake splash, a whole bunch of times. And Hogan was convulsing and twitching, and they carried him out on a stretcher, and they said, oh my God, his sternum has been crushed. We're going to take him to the hospital. This is terrible. This could be the end of Hulk Hogan. This could be the end of Hulkamania. The Earthquake may have destroyed the career of the greatest wrestler of all time, right? They really played it up. And they started a letter writing campaign. Hulk Hogan's best friend at the time, Tugboat. He came on like a week or 2 later and he said, oh, you Hulkamaniacs, the Hulkster would really love it, and it would really make him feel better while he's in the hospital healing up if you would write him a letter and let him know you care and let him know you're thinking about him, and that'll give him the motivation to get better. And so I did. I wrote Hulk Hogan a letter. And
Wow.
Maybe a month or so later, Hogan came back on TV. Again, very serious, very downcast. He wasn't talking in the Hulk Hogan voice, brother. He was, talking more or less his normal voice. And he gave this very sober, very somber promo about how he was thinking about retiring, but he loved all of us who wrote him those letters, and he promised he was going to answer every single letter, even if it took the rest of his life. And he said, all you Hulkamaniacs, all I can say is I love you forever and a day, man. And then he said, I want you all to know that hell no, I'm not retiring. And I'm coming back, and I'm going to wrestle that big nasty Earthquake at SummerSlam. And I'm going to get even. And it was a wrestling angle, right? And now I look back on it as an adult and I think, oh, that's just I can't believe even as like a 10-year-old that I thought this was real. Like, this is a classic wrestling angle. The hero gets put out of action by the dastardly villain. And then eventually, after taking some time off and giving the people a chance to miss him and worry about him, the hero.
So sometimes what they do, sometimes they actually use this for legit injuries. So like Shawn Michaels had an eye injury from a match with Kane, and they didn't acknowledge it, but eventually it was like getting more and more visible. So they like worked it into a storyline with Chris Jericho, so that to like add to his SummerSlam feud. Or like recently there was a Seth Rollins match with LA Knight. I think maybe Seth Rollins was supposed to even win, and he got hurt like doing a move, and he could have just called for the end of the match, but instead he had the other guy like do his move and beat him. So it's they do sometimes have to make these calls. But yes, this was a situation probably with what we call a worked injury. But sometimes the storylines are based on legitimate injuries. Like they use a legitimate injury, like you're legitimately hurt. Like let's make something, to make money off this.
Comes back to get even and get his revenge, and that's what happened. Mostly. the match at SummerSlam, Hogan won, but he won by a count out, which I still think is a little weird. But apparently I've heard stories since then that it had something to do with the house show business. They wanted people to buy tickets to see the rematch between Hulk and Earthquake live in their hometown, and that's why they had it end sort of inconclusively on pay-per-view. I don't know. But anyway, that's what it was. But as a 10-year-old, I didn't know any different. I thought, oh, Hulk Hogan, he's hurt, and he needs us. He needs his Hulkamaniacs. And so I wrote. And he did answer my letter as promised. Or somebody did. I got a postcard in the mail that had Hulk Hogan's signature on it. He probably never even read or touched my letter. It was probably one of those postcards that, they just put a stack of 500 in front of him, and he was just going like that, one after the other to sign it. And then I found out, again, many, many years later, as an adult, I learned that in addition to it just being a wrestling angle to get people interested in their big summer pay-per-view, the "Hey kids, write letters to Hulk Hogan" deal was also a ploy by the WWF, now the WWE, to get a bunch of people's addresses for a mailing list. And that worked too, because I started receiving all these merchandise catalogs from the WWF in the mail. Isn't that interesting? So it was a much more cynical.
But we wanted that merch catalog. I ain't even gonna hold you. I'm not even gonna lie to you. We wanted that merch catalog. that merch catalog was it.
Really?
Oh yeah, they had us all the way snatched up as children.
I'll be listening. I'll be right back.
All right, no worries.
Calculated operation than my tender, young heart at the time thought it was. But I still remember being that kid. I still remember having Hulk Hogan as a hero. And, even into my adulthood, even after I learned all of the stories about him, the backstage politicking, the holding other people down, the protecting his own spot on the show to the detriment of other people, the way he would be difficult to work with if he had to put somebody over as opposed to somebody coming out to make him look good, and his personal failings, his bigotry, his shitty politics, his selfishness, the fact that he's just an out-and-out shameless, utterly shameless liar. Even after I learned all that, I still had that nostalgic part of me, that wrestling fan in my heart, that sometimes I just felt like watching a Hulk Hogan match. You can see on the shelf behind me, sometimes people ask me, oh, tell us about your DVD shelf. The top row here, from here over, is wrestling stuff. Is nothing but wrestling DVDs. And then this down here is wrestling as well. And some of it is Hulk Hogan stuff. It's not in the front, you can't see it, but in the next row back, because the shelf is deep enough, there's 2 rows of DVDs. In the next row back after this front row, it's Hulk Hogan stuff. It's the first big DVD set that the WWE put out.
Yeah, I remember that.
Called Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Anthology, and then there was a follow-up to it, Hulk Hogan's Unreleased Collector Series. Ooh. And of course I got both of these
what's that?
as soon as they were available, because even though I didn't really like him anymore, I had that memory. I had that appreciation from back in the day, from back when I was a mark. I'm still a mark, but I'm a mark who knows I'm a self-aware mark, as opposed to when I was a kid. And I didn't believe in Santa Claus anymore, but I still believed in wrestling. And again, in a sense, I'm wearing a wrestling shirt right now. My current favorite wrestler, Cody Rhodes. I'm still a wrestling mark, just with an added layer of self-awareness. But it's an interesting feeling. It's a strange feeling. If I do feel bad, if I do feel a little shaken by the news, it's not that I'm upset that Hulk Hogan's dead. It's more the realization of, oh, that day has come. That day that I just kind of mused about when I was however old I was, 9 or 10, whenever I had that thought, oh, Hulk Hogan's going to die someday. And now that day is here. Like all that time has passed. And here I sit, 45 years old, as opposed to 9 or 10 or whatever I was.
Can you pause real quick?
And that's what,
So there are in life markers, sort of events that we see coming that we know when we get there, we put a lot of time behind ourselves. Earlier last week on Facebook, there was a post. You are probably something like this. You are probably older now than your favorite teacher was when you were in their class.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, one response after another. Yup, much older, and so on and so on. Some of those teachers aren't alive anymore. Some of those teachers are long retired and living in another country or something. I thought of my favorite teacher from, my Latin teacher, who I still am in touch with. We corresponded like 8 times this year so far, but we do kind of see, wow, I'm now standing where they were standing when I was looking up to them, or
Yeah.
it's 20 years past that, or 10 years. It is an interesting thing to see how quickly life goes by. So I can identify with what he's saying in that respect because, I'm probably, am I older than my dad was? I think I'm older than when my dad was when my youngest brother was born, younger brother was born. And my dad was in his 50s, so I'm 52 when my daughter was born. And I didn't expect that. I can assure you, I had no expectation of that. But surely she's going to grow up thinking, wow, she's going to look at me one day and like maybe the next 6 years and go, he's so effing old. And then she's going to blink her eyes and she'll be my age. And she'll be so effing old. I look forward
Yeah.
to telling her that. My best friend said at breakfast this morning, he's going to be 70. He says this like every time I see him, which is usually like once or twice a week. He's going to be 70 years old when his daughter graduates high school. So I'm going to make sure that my daughter hears him say that pretty much every week of her life once her and my wife move to Fort Wayne. Then my daughter will have it fully cemented in her mind. Yeah, he's going to be up there when I graduate. So it's just one of those things where I had this mentor, Charles, and he said, "Come see me before I die." When you have a lot of time with someone, it always seems to be far, far, far away in the future, that moment when it comes where they will die. Well, Charles was over 70 years old. And I got in a spot where I couldn't really afford to go see him. We could talk on the phone, but I couldn't go see him. And he died. Now I can't ever go visit with him and sit and talk about the old times and the new times and get some wonderful, solid life advice or investment advice from him. The opportunity's gone. Just like you out there who wanted to write a letter to Hulk Hogan or someone like him or Malcolm Jamal Warner, they're gone. They're just gone. So, for whoever that is in your life that you've been meaning to reach out to, whether you know them or not, do it now. Because all those Ozzy fans, and Ozzy Osbourne had to be one of the toughest human beings in history. Just like he endured so much that was really hard on his body, but still around up until last week. But yeah, figure out how to reach that person and reach out to them, even if it's just a letter, postcard, something of that nature. If they're retired, you just might get a response because so many people send a text or an email these days. To get a paper letter might be a bit more meaningful. So
I
that's all I got
definitely,
to say.
I definitely was not reaching out to Hulk Hogan.
It's really kind of sitting on me, that recognition of, oh, I've lived this much of my life.
Hmm.
Oh, all of that is behind me now. And hopefully I have a long way to go, right? I'm assuming that I still have, a good long way to go yet. But it's hard to avoid that thought. It's hard to avoid sort of pondering your own mortality when you find yourself living a day that you could hardly imagine when you were a child. And it doesn't seem like all that long ago. And here it is. Hulk Hogan is dead. And I'm 45 and still alive and hopefully will be for a long time to come. But yeah, it's a strange day. It's a strange day. A lot has changed. And that little kid who idolized Hulk Hogan, that little kid who wrote him a letter because I wanted him to feel better, because the earthquake put him in the hospital. That little kid is all grown up. And hopefully I haven't become cynical in general or a cynic, but I am a lot more cynical than I used to be back then. I'm a lot more suspicious and skeptical of things. And I don't know if I have a belief or a faith that pure left in me that I could have for somebody else. And I mean, that's a good thing. That means I have a head on my shoulders, but it's also kind of sad, you know, not sad that I'm no longer capable of it, but sad that it's so foolish, sad that the world takes that from you. The world takes that childlike faith because so much of the world is not worthy of it. And maybe that's what, in addition to the pondering of my own impending death, maybe that's what's got me feeling a little off upon hearing the news of the death of Hulk Hogan. Maybe that's what I'm unnerved about or upset about or a little sad about. I'm not sad that Hulk Hogan died. I'm sad that the person I thought he was never really lived.
Pretty much.
A very special Steve Shives.
That is yeah, and that's generally the thing with anytime you're dealing with like yeah, that type of relationship, like yeah, it's you're in love with something that's not there, not a real person.
Well, don't we normally talk about that on Hot Program? Uh,
Yeah. Oh, speaking of
well,
that, let's
well, let me just may
go
I
ahead.
just comment a little further?
Yeah.
So we 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 do need heroes. I think we all can admit that we do. Be they people we see all the time, a guy that lives around the corner that you know, maybe they play hockey as a hobby or they have a dirt bike that they work on, and that you can hang out with him and learn about working on dirt bikes, or somebody who is quite good at sewing and she's showing you, here's how you do this, and let's make you this for school, I've got some old material, here's how to use a pattern, whatever it is, right? Someone with some history behind them and enthusiasm ahead of them. We need those people, and we need to be inspired. I have an iPhone, and it popped up some video from February when my daughter is on her belly, and I'm trying to teach her to crawl. Oh, she's too young for that. She doesn't get it. She just started crawling within the last week and a half, at 9 months old. And I'm watching this video after just seeing her crawl for the first time, recently. She is so excited. She's more excited to try to crawl and fail than she was to actually crawl. And I'm watching this little video, just it's 38 seconds or something like that. And I'm thinking, this is a good lesson for me. Sometimes enthusiasm is the only progress you're going to see, because the same baby could have been 10 minutes earlier crying because she was tired of trying. Just tired of trying. When we have those heroes in your neighborhood, far away, people you know or don't, or somebody in the limelight like Hulk Hogan, as those writers write that story arcs for those wrestlers, you get to see that. Someone who reminds you that their enthusiasm, and you talked about that story, as did Steve, that enthusiasm is the progress you see. And you have to remember that lesson for yourself. And being able to say, there's a great comfort in this. They made it, so I can make it. Whoever they is, right? They made it. Even though it's a different person with a different set of circumstances and resources, they still made it. And I think that's a good lesson for us all when you're having a tough time or having the best time. Because if you are having the best time, chances are there's a lot of eyes looking at you going, how do I get there from here? So just bear that in mind. You might be the hero someday. And it is an honorable thing when you know it, but you kind of have to watch yourself once you reach that level. So you're not a huge disappointment to these people. But I always say, there is a real me, and that's the only one anybody gets to see. If I'm having a tough time, I say it. If it's easy street, I say it. Good day, bad day, I let people know. There's only ever the real me.
That's good. All
That's
right,
it, Bakalaka.
here's this next clip I want you. It's called "If God Attended an American Church."
Church, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's something. Oh, Jesus, that's the pastor right there. Yeah. He the one that take his private helicopter to his yacht, to his Rolls Royce, back to his private helicopter so he can parachute in the church every Sunday. Yeah, he say he do it because it's in God's will. It's in my will. I love when he be shouting niggas out. I love that.
We're going to pass the offering plate around for the third time because Jesus rose on the third day. Amen?
Amen. I mean, makes sense to me.
Okay, and you can never give too much to God. You never give too much to God because God will never give too much to you. Amen? Pass that plate around.
Why we keep giving me money, Jesus? Like why does God need money? And so much of it. And why does it have to be money? Why can't it be like an apple or a can of Chef Boyardee? Anyways, can you spot me? I gave him my last 5 like 10 minutes ago. I'll pay you back when we get back home. I'll take it out the streets.
Proverbs 3, verse 9 says, give God money, nigga. He need it.
First of all, that's not what that says. Second, never fucking said that. Never. Not one time.
Oh, my knee! The Hail Mary is happening!
The Holy Ghost, Dad.
The Holy what?
The Holy Ghost. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Jesus.
Yes?
Not you, nigga. That is goofy as hell. And now, we will be eating the flesh and drinking the blood of Jesus Christ. What the fuck? It's a cult. It's a cult. Now, going into the Word of God, if you open your Bible to any chapter, don't be gay.
Come on, Pastor.
Or eternal damnation. Can we pass the collection plate around? We need more money. Let's go, Jesus.
I'm in a room full of I don't know what to call you anymore.
That's a whole issue. This was the alternative topic for today, but we decided to do Hulk Hogan instead. All right. So
the Mehdi Hassan
yeah.
from Jubilee.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but I kind of know.
Oh
He
my
probably
goodness, it's
massacred
long.
those poor non-thinking peoples. It's long, you say?
Yeah, it's long. Yeah. All right.
Well, that's all right. Mehdi Hassan tends to know his stuff.
All right, y'all. This one was called Wrestling in Color Podcast. Let me drop the link to her channel in the chat. Her channel is awesome.
Hey, cousin.
Hey, cousins. All right. Let me turn up the volume.
Hey, cousins. Listen, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to just wrap it on up, okay? There's no reason for me to speak on Hulk Hogan no more. There's nothing else to talk about. I'm aware of his business ventures with Eric Bischoff, says a lot about him. And this, what is this, supposedly real wrestling? Child, please. I understand how he made y'all feel. Everybody has feelings. All of a sudden, they just want to share their feels. And it's the same people who said facts over feelings for anything else. But when it's somebody that made you feel good, now you in your fucking feelings. So let me be here to quell any confusion that we have. I don't give a fuck about nobody that made me feel good a time or two. Okay? The separate the art from the artist thing is always going to be a hot topic in the conversation, and we just got to use our brains and some critical thinking. If the artist is that fucking terrible, then maybe you should make some changes to whether you're going to continue to support this person or not, because then that communicates to people what kind of person you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Do you understand?
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like there's so many people telling on themselves. It's like, oh, okay, all right, and they don't, and it's a lack of self awareness too. Like a lack, like I don't know, like why do we care that much about what a person accomplishes, especially when they they couldn't accomplish it without being a terrible person. That's the point. It's like a lot of people see it, I hate to say it, but it does get even into like capitalism and people just being so wrapped up in the system, they haven't even realized that that's crap. It's crap. And yeah, a lot of it, people have been talking about it in the chat, a lot of it is the problem with celebrity culture in general. I get that. It's absolutely part of it.
You can't sit here and get upset because everybody is sucking on Terry Baloney. Shout out to the cousin. That's for you. Don't come in my comments.
Oh, we definitely in our feelings with the anger and the emotion. We just in our feels about the feels that everybody else got caught up in. Because it's just when you see them get swept up in the nostalgia and just sidestep everything, and now you're like, oh, it's kind of like it's kind of like the feeling like when certain content creators come out of the woodworks and all of a sudden like they're right wingers. You're just kind of like, oh, I didn't know you were like that. You're kind of caught off guard.
This needs to be reported for what? I just gave you a nice memorandum of Hulk Hogan. Those are the things he did. Why can't I report on that? Oh, you want me to dig up some shit? Okay, tell me the great and fantastic things that Hulk Hogan has done throughout his lifetime that trumps all of the terrible shit. Tell me, and I will sit here and go through that. No, the fuck I won't. I'm not appeasing none of y'all. You understand? I'm sick and tired
I
of
love
the
her.
the circle jerk when it comes to what this man did, and not just him. All of the people that play in the race, ruin other people's lives with their political beliefs that turn into law and uproot families, and you say nasty things about people that rile other people up, and they run and abuse these other folks. This is what's going on in the world. So me sitting here telling this man to go to fuck the hell should be the last thing that's going to send you over the fucking edge. I'm sitting here listening to, I already know. I'm listening to Coach and Bro. Yes, Jonathan Coachman and Vince Russo. And it's a fucking joke, child. It's a joke.
Hey, Ryan.
Jonathan Coachman is stuttering so fucking bad because he got sponsors and he got people he got to make feel good. So he can't.
So this is Jonathan Coachman. He was a longtime WWE broadcaster, and then he went to ESPN. And yeah, now he's on he has a podcast. And
is it wrestling? And okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a wrestling show. And yeah, he's black, so she's trying to call him to the floor, like, come on, bro, you tripping over yourself trying to talk positively about Hulk Hogan for the sponsors. That's what she's talking about.
Say what he want to say, and I honestly think what he's saying is what he wants to say. Oh, he's a great guy, you know. He has to have done some good things. You know, I like Saturday morning cartoons, and I went to sleep on the Saturday morning cartoons, and I felt good. And are you serious? And Vince Russo, of all people, you was the one going all the way in on the Hulkster when he fucked up the whole thing and tried to ruin Booker T's moment. It was the Hulkster that wasn't even gonna let Booker T go over. Wasn't y'all all pissed off about this? But now, oh, that's water under the bridge. You had a whole fucking documentary. You won't let WCW go. But now the motherfucker dead, and it's like, oh well, oh.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing too, and it's like literally people who just were going in on Hulk Hogan. You know, it's like it was all good just a week ago. Like it's crazy, and I get it. Some of it is just this compulsory respect for the dead, but it just becomes a problem, especially when people just are like leading a charge to try to memory hole all of these things, to try to tell people like, how dare you, you know, not want to glaze Hulk Hogan. Look, I just don't like, I don't care. And again, I think the world is trying to tell people something. We're trying to tell people how you live and who you are matters. And we don't care. And honestly, that ties all the way through even to Epstein. I don't know why on earth this is the type of thing that needs to happen for certain MAGA folk to begin to see through the facade of Trump. I don't know why. And trust me, when the time is right, we need to sit down and have that conversation. But it's like, okay, you're seeing through it, right? And they're getting it. There's no amount of privilege, wealth, celebrity, you're the president. Nah, bro, if you was in them tapes, bro, we want to know about that.
We want to know.
You know, we want to know if you was in them damn files, Donald.
Well,
okay.
You know what? Can I just jump in on that?
Go ahead.
What appears to be abundantly clear to me If I wanted to assume that Donald Trump is completely innocent of ever having an inappropriate relationship with someone who is underaged, he was well aware that Epstein did. And if he just let it happen and he didn't turn him in, that ought to be super disturbing to his base. They ought to, more of them ought to have a problem with that. Like, assume you did nothing.
Well,
That was
we're gonna have
inappropriate
to
touching. But
examine that, because you're bringing up some very interesting stuff. So remember, I went to Penn State and Michigan State when both
mhm,
of them had their huge
scandals.
controversies and scandals. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I'm the common thread. Um, but you'll remember, like with the Joe Paterno situation, that was what the deal with him was. It was that he didn't do enough to report.
Hmm.
Um, and so that would be interesting to see if it goes that direction with Epstein. The thing is, I think the problem might be bigger than all of this. I think the problem might be that, not that he's a client, but that he's a business partner, and that
I
they were synchronizing operations together. Yeah.
So the woman that you used her video last week, the Life Take Two, she had a video that talked about Trump's modeling agency and how Trump had those pageants and how those things were tied to. And maybe you could look it up. I encourage the audience to check it out. It was based on what you just said. It was clear it would have been easy for those things to be connected. I'm not making a claim that they were. It would be easy if
Yeah. Yeah.
the other guy with the modeling company that Melania worked for, Trump's pageant, Trump Model Management, or whatever the hell it was called, and Epstein were aligned some way that was inappropriate. It would be easy to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Welcome, Candace. I'm glad you caught me live as well. Um, yeah, so I think that whole thing is gonna play out. But yeah, that's and that will, show the same thing for a lot of them, where, like, you were literally the head of their call, and you were the most bigly greatest president to ever live.
mhm.
But you get caught up in this, and they're gonna turn on you. And so
Most of them, I still think most of them won't. I still think most of them won't. I think they'll be. It's a frame up. He didn't do anything wrong, or if he did, he should be forgiven. The fact that they are thinking of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell is astonishing to me.
yeah,
How
I
can it
think you
be?
might
Like
be right. I
we
think you
have
might be right
there are
about that.
legitimate victims. This isn't, we don't suspect something may have happened. It's not unclear if something happened. We know this woman was helping to traffic young girls. We know. But I can say this. Ghislaine Maxwell might be a very brilliant person, because if she got the people from Florida, if she got them into the Trump administration and basically put them where she needed to be, and had, again, if Trump is completely innocent, she can always make it look like he wasn't, and people will believe her. She doesn't need any proof. It's just her word. I think that's all she needs. Her word. Yeah, he did this. He did this. Is there a video of that? They've had that stuff for years. They've probably destroyed it. We know we had him. We
Yeah,
had him on
I
tape.
would have I would
That's
have
all.
thought
She could lie.
Trump
She
would
could lie. It could be
destroy it.
that simple. We had him on tape. That's all she has to say. All the power. I wrote it earlier. Like, she is the most powerful woman on this planet right now.
She has him. I think she has him.
Whether
I
he
think
did
there's no
anything or
doubt
not,
about it.
she could just say it. She could just say it. So if somebody's playing 5D chess, it could be her. And I would have to say she's brilliant at it because she's got all the right people whispering in his ear. I mean, literally, they are shutting down the government so they can hide this. Why is that? I think it would be better if we just had a day where they could come out and say, okay, here's all the bad crap I did. So anybody who had something on me, you don't have any power over me now. I wish we had that day for our
Sarah, that makes
politicians.
sense.
What does Sarah say? I don't know. What's it?
That she can't do on-screen violence. So like wrestling is even wrestling is
Oh,
like too
okay.
much. Like yeah, wrestling is inherently violent for sure.
Well, Sarah, stay a peaceful person.
Yeah. All right. Let's let her wrap
Well,
this up.
it's the business. He had to
The
do things in the
business.
business and the business. If we gonna do this for everybody, then you know what? Everything should be forgiven. Okay, we should all have a clean slate, and we shouldn't talk about nothing. And everyone that was injured throughout history, and everyone that was injured in their life by people, and all of that, we should just sweep it all under the rug, because at some point you're gonna die, and you don't want to die with a bad reputation. But like they say, what you do in life, that is how you live. That is how you will be remembered. Why is that difficult? If I was running around here kidnapping little kids and burying them under my fucking house, I would be John Wayne Gacy, right? If I was running around here, uh, attacking sorority girls and stabbing them up and ripping their fucking heads off, what name would I be? I would be Ted Bundy, right? But because, me and Ted,
No relation.
we had lunch and he paid the bill and he was so nice and he made me feel good. I don't know if I should be upset that he slaughtered women. Really? That's how y'all sound at this particular point. Oh, well, and when I was 6 years old, he made me feel good, and I like wrestling because, what? Are you joking?
Yeah, okay. And this is the point I was trying to make earlier, like with the glazing. Hulk Hogan did not make professional wrestling. Yes, he was the biggest star in the business, but that was a completely manufactured deal with Vince McMahon. And if it was not him, it'd have been somebody else. And
True.
arguably, it may have been somebody who carried that mantle much more responsibly. Yeah, or yeah, and did much less damage to others. Because in a sense, I think Hogan established a problematic precedent of top stars being incredibly political and doing a lot to manipulate the careers of people beneath them on the card. So that's still a problem. But yeah, that's been the vibe. Like when I found out he passed, I was like, all right, cool. I don't really have too much to say about it. But then when I started seeing people get all emotional, and then it just was like, what? Like, what? Why? Like, why are y'all doing this? But that's what it is. It's the nostalgia. But what gets me is we just live in a time that's very politically charged. Right, wrong, or indifferent. It just is the way it is. And for you to be not recognizing that Hulk Hogan had become a right wing celebrity influencer, for lack of a better way to put it. Like that was his whole Real America beer, you know, showing up at MAGA events, and you know, and being and then all of his personal issues, to just act like we should ignore all that. I don't get it. I don't get it. And so that just struck me as not good. Like, people have to like wake up. Like, you have to see through that. You have to see what they're trying to do. They're because that's how they get you in the right wing pipeline. Because think about it. You see something like this happen, then you see people like me coming around going, "Fuck Terry, bye Felicia." Then all of a sudden you're going, well, the left is so unempathetic and unsympathetic, and they're, you know, trampling over a man's grave, you know, and you're just pushing yourself further and further, you know, to the right. So I'm just trying to say, the people who are pushing us to set aside a person's problematic past and bigotry and all of that is a person who does not have our best interest in mind.
You riled up because I said for him to go to hell. You know how many people I said to go to hell, and y'all ain't blinked twice. I mentioned Ozzy Osbourne, and I already know the man ain't no good. I know that, and his wife ain't no fucking better. So when I go in on him, we gonna have the Oz heads come over and say, "Hey man, you ain't supposed to talk about him because in 1974 he made me feel good. He gave me good music. We use him
Good
for the War Games
riddance.
theme song, War Pigs," and like, come on. You gotta reap what you sow. That's why you need to live a life the best way you can live it. Empathy is lost in today's society. That is what's missing. So if anyone is confused and they're wondering, why is everyone so upset? Why is everyone so mean? It's because they don't have empathy. That's why everything looked the way it looked.
I love that show. All right. We made it. We made it. Hey, we're not doing too bad on time today, actually.
No.
So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. What do you think about the Mehdi Hassan thing?
Well, I've only seen clips. I haven't seen the whole thing. Mehdi Hassan is someone who's typically very level-headed and asks questions that I only wish I had thought of asking people. Um, I'm not pro-genocide, so I don't support Israel endlessly killing people in Gaza and trying to steal their land from them. I think that's wrong. I think it's a sad thing to see that so many Americans embrace a person like Donald J. Trump, and then say that they have a Christian faith. Um, the Bible would says things like, throw the immoral person out of the synagogue. The Apostle Paul says that. Here these people worked hard to get him elected. I wish people weren't so gullible in believing the lies. I wish they invested more time in checking things out, and I wish they valued the information that was contrary to their beliefs when they got it. Right? Let me look at this seriously. I think Mehdi Hassan does a good job of challenging people in that way and asking them to look at the whole picture, not just your favorite side, the whole picture. Um, the fact that there's 20 of those people, I would love to do one of those Jubilee things. There aren't a wide array of topics. There's probably only one I'd be any good at, and that's the religious debate. So, they can atheists versus 20 Christians. I'm like, give me double the time, double the people.
I don't know where I'm at. I kind of hate Jubilee. Like,
You do. Do you hate
yeah,
watch it?
I mostly hate don't watch it, but when I
Okay.
when I do watch it, I'm hate watching it, when it's clips or whatever. And that's the thing that's been kind of interesting to me, is that I think finally people are starting to say the problem is Jubilee. Like,
Interesting. And can you give me some? I want you to continue down that vein and kind of explain that to me. Explain
so
that to me.
it's like, hang on. Let me see.
Excuse me.
It's basically the idea that they are normalizing the like
Extremists,
grifters, yes, and the
platform
extremists,
extremists.
and also like the really also doing the enlightened centrist thing. Like it's a couple of problems. Like one, they are normalizing the extreme behavior typically on the right, but then also they do all of this allegedly so we can find some common ground. But these are issues where there really is no common ground, and it also is that in and of itself is a false narrative. And again, it's one that people really love. Like people just go to, people are just so comfortable, especially I guess when they're not affected by issues, to compromise for other people. Like people just assume you can just take an issue, there's two sides of it. Oh, there must be some superior solution in the middle somewhere. Like people have just like a brain virus or something that makes them think that way all the time. But yeah, so that to me is like, I don't know if you know about modern day debate, right? Like we all hate that channel because it's like, how many times are we going to debate flat Earth or creationism versus evolution or do vaccines work or whatever it is? But that is their business model, is to continue to debate that. And I see Jubilee as very much just a modern day debate with better production quality
Production
and
values, yeah.
and you know, better access to people with larger platforms or whatever. uh and I think the first couple episodes that I saw from their channel, I think I thought, I was like, oh, this is cool, like let me check this out. It's not like something that struck me right away, but as I've sort of seen their content kind of grow and realize like what they do, and also I think the guy running it, like the people behind it, like I don't have a very high opinion of them either. Like I think they're
Mhm.
just, just trying to make money and grift off the algorithm. I don't think they care about any of these issues. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan. But I know that a lot of big content creators are going on there. I think that's part of the problem right now, is that the spaces that are large enough to offer some real exposure tend to be in somewhere in a problematic space in like the spectrum. So for instance, like um for so long the Joe Rogan podcast was like the number one podcast.
It's like getting on
Now,
Johnny Carson when we were growing up.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Now I think it's more like Midas Touch. But then again, they don't really get into interviewing a whole lot of people, um, unless you're like really directly related to the news or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, so for so long, the Joe Rogan podcast was like the biggest thing you could do. Or then you have where like, to get these deals through, like they say, Trump is trying to get rid of the liberal leaning late night host and people like that. Uh, so and then there's the whole way that the whole algorithm slants towards the right.
The right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there really isn't a lot of ways to get exposure, and unfortunately, I think Jubilee is one of those places. I think even Mehdi Hassan, like, because I think he's more independent now that he's not at MSNBC and NBC anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he felt like this was something he needed to do.
Well, the idea of Jubilee from a marketing standpoint, right? I put my marketing degree hat on, you know. If I do that, I look at it as kind of a brilliant idea. I take people with big audiences and I use their celebrity to boost my own. Now I got people never thought of Jubilee watching Jubilee. And if that content creator goes out with their whatever 1 million, 2 million followers, and I bring them on Jubilee, now there are people probably never heard of me that want to come on there to see if their person is going to say anything. And then after they do or don't, they go back and watch their content creator clips of them talking about Jubilee, and maybe they come back to Jubilee. So it's a smart idea from that standpoint. And that's why you might see them being very aggressive about finding these big names and getting people to come and challenge them because people are salivating for that. Now, think of it. If, let's say, a Jubilee video gets 10 million views, I don't know what they get. Let's just say 10 million views. If you're a content creator, that is mostly new eyeballs for you. And if you're saying what they want to hear, be you left wing, right wing, whatever, you're going to gain some of those eyeballs. And they will probably talk about you to other people, and then you're going to gain more eyeballs. That's why it's so successful. That's why it's so popular, because essentially it's a machine that makes people famous or more famous.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it'll be around a nice long time. But it's good to bring like a Mehdi Hassan on there because I think some people who are left leaning, most people who are left leaning, are already very sensible people who want to hear people out. We are willing to hear both sides, but people on the right just think that it because they are right leaning means they are correct. That's not what that means.
Well, yeah. I
So
mean, that's why I wouldn't even. I don't even mess with them because I think they're antagonistic. You know, I think it's a
some
mistake.
are.
I think I think most are. I mean, at this stage of the game, if you're identifying as a conservative, like let's see what Tabitha says. I don't know. I pulled up to see what some people are saying real quick.
So everybody is talking about
Oh my goodness. Hang
debating
on.
what 20
Everything starts so
fascist
quiet.
Republicans. We all know how Mehdi. So everybody is talking about Mehdi Hassan debating what 20 fascist Republicans. We all know how Mehdi Hassan gets down. We all know that fascist Republicans aren't smart. We all know this. So we knew that Mehdi Hassan was going to eat them up. Mehdi Hassan is one of the smartest men out there with spectacular debating skills. Everybody has a problem with the fascist Republicans for showing the world that they are fascist Republicans. I understand. Yeah, I understand. I heard one of them got fired. My issue is everybody is attacking the fascist Republicans. Continue. But are we not going to attack Jubilee for giving space to fascist Republicans? I think Jubilee media can get some of this work. Without Jubilee media, the fascist Republicans wouldn't have had a platform. What y'all think?
No, because they still have Twitter, they have Truth Social, they have Frank Speech, they have there's still other outlets for them to communicate to each other en masse and to push their message en masse. Jubilee it's a small pond, but there's an ocean of opportunities out there for these people to spread their hatred, to spread their ignorance, and to convert people to their way of thinking.
There
You know,
is, but I don't think
it's
I
like the
still
Borg. We will
I think
add your
if you're
uniqueness to our own.
but the thing is, if you're upset about platforming fascism, if you're upset about the normalization of fascism, then yeah, you levy the critique at Jubilee because if yeah, they're gonna have their spaces, but we don't have influence or control over what they do in their spaces. And I would also argue that that's the problem of normalization. If they stuff is, we know their stuff is going to fly freely in their spaces. So if I'm on Rumble and the racism is crazy, well, I made the mistake of being on Rumble. But if they're on Blue Sky, that's more of a problem because that is again because what you're bringing it now more into the mainstream. And Jubilee, I think I again I don't like Jubilee because I think they're I mean again like they making their money like you know it is what it is. I understand that people you know enjoy the content or whatever, but I do think it's a problem and this has been the issue with a lot of their content really where they're debating stuff that shouldn't be debated or getting into hot button issues with you know, people who are, you know, too young to be really, you know, putting it out there like that. Like there's just a lot of weird stuff that goes on their shows, but this to a lot of people highlights it the most because you know how openly fascistic the guests were. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Like if you're gonna put these people on your show, I don't know. We're all trying to figure this out right now. But for me, it is scary because I do think these are bad people. Like I think these are dangerous people. I don't know why we play about these people.
Well,
Um
Pocket, like I used to work in TV, as you and some of the audience members know. Even on some talk shows, the idea, and I'll use Jerry Springer as an example. I didn't work on that show, but one of my mentors did. The idea is to get the audience engaged and to produce something that is compelling. So if you have a studio audience, you definitely want them mad as hell. And if you have a home audience, you want them just as worked up. So that's why bringing on a guy who was cheating on his wife or whatever and didn't deserve it, and the people are just all just crazy, like on the Jerry Springer show. You know, just they want to go after that guy. Like this is terrible. This is unfair. How dare you treat somebody like this? Then they find out there was a twist, and the audience just does a 180. Like, wait a minute, lady, you were in the wrong. You should have blah 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 blah. And it's just on and on and on like that. As
right.
long as you can tug people back and forth and shake them so they don't know what to believe, you're in a good spot. If you can get them, they put the Klans guy up there. They run a DNA test. Of course, he's going to be partially black, right? 13% black. It may not even be true, but for the audience sitting there, they don't give a rip. It's true to them. And so they laugh at the guy, poke fun at the guy, and tear into him when they hated that guy for doing that to other people. They're now doing
So
it.
then but then to
So,
me, like especially funny to me as a pro wrestling fan, then just be about your business. The thing I don't like about these things is I feel like they work people because Jubilee then should not be saying we're about finding common ground and we want to have discussions about they should just say we try to make this paper boo boo and so you know we're gonna have the extreme positions in here against celebrity or whatever we're gonna let them battle it out and smash that like button on your way out. If they was like that, cool. But they position themselves like, oh, we just want to establish a common ground in these divisive times, and da 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 da. Da. And so when you sort of like play, you know, like you're the benevolent producer or whatever, that's what bothers me. And then whatever, I charge her to the game. I can see right through it. But yeah, I think that's where that's the problem, right? Because it is, and look, I think we just got to be honest about what it is. We live in a time where everything's divisive. So then we want the blood sport. I I do see the people who think differently than me on a lot of these things. They are the enemy. And that's why I don't want them on the show. You know, that's why I'm beefing with Jubilee. I see ops. You brought my ops on screen and, are helping them, grow their platform and making people think it's cool to run around here acting like my ops. I'm trying to fight them people. So, and I guess that's how they get me charged up and watching their stuff or whatever. So yeah, it's just a
Yeah,
dirty
if
game.
the idea is to get a reaction out of people. And you know this. You worked. You teach in evolution. You are getting a biological response, right? You're producing dopamine and getting other people to produce all sorts of chemicals in their brain when they
Mm-hmm.
watch your show. Well, if they can't get that anywhere else and their brain likes it, where else are they going to go? You know where they're going to go? Back to you again and again and again and again because their brain likes those chemicals. And your audience's bodies will keep making them and they'll keep coming back for more. And it will darn near spit in the face of being sensible just so it can get that rush. It's biology. On some level, that's
Oh
part of their
yeah.
success. It's biology.
Oh yeah. It is. Um, but yeah, I just think I don't know. I don't know. I think people look. I think it is what it is. Um, and what I mean by that is, I think the criticisms that I and a lot of other people have um, are the result of watching their platform. It's kind of like it was with Doug. I remember when we first started, Doug first turned. I was one of the earlier people because I was watching him, and he would say a lot of stuff that people just wasn't really trying to get into at the time. And I remember at first we was just trying to show people, we was clipping stuff and trying to tell people, and eventually you were just like, you know what, they'll figure it out. And people just watched them enough, and sure enough, they would realize what the problems were. And it's the same thing I think with Jubilee. I think you watch Jubilee, you get excited about Jubilee, but then they do a few of these things and you see the way other commentators talk about them, you keep watching, and I just think Jubilee will eventually do themselves in. It'll take a while. They'll grow for a long time because they've had Andrew Wilson and Destiny on there, like that type of like I don't know, like that type of stuff is having a moment, but I think ultimately. I don't know. I think ultimately a lot of people will just get turned off to it,
Hmm.
but we'll see.
Well, you definitely want Springer's a good one to watch to see what kind of audience you want to have. Audience you want to have, guests you want to have. You want to have people who are super confident, people who love to talk over people, people who are fairly intelligent about whatever their topic is, and who don't want to change. They don't want to see it another way. And in the interview processes, when you're looking for audience members, you can screen for this. And
Right.
if you're Jubilee, you want 20 of those. And then you want a
Yeah.
guy who's going to give them a run for their money. But that guy isn't different than them. That guy is just like them, except for the Jordan Peterson one. I don't know what that man was thinking. He should have said no. Jordan Peterson, in my opinion, should retire from the spotlight and go spend his money doing things that he enjoys. Maybe have a garden, you know. Grow
Right.
some of his own food, which could be a lovely pursuit. I had some cucumbers from a coworker. Peterson should give that a try. Stop being famous, Jordan.
Stop being famous, Jordan.
Stop it. Stop it. Step away.
So yeah, maybe we'll get into some of this other stuff a little bit more. We got a few different directions we could go, a few different things we could talk about next week. We'll see what's up. Do you want to give us your concluding thoughts for this week?
Everybody dies. Some of those people are famous people.
There it is, really.
That's pretty much it. I just want everybody to be safe, be happy, travel, see the world. What you got time?
You know what I find interesting is I sit here in this moment and I can definitely reflect on what Steve was talking about. I can remember being a child, looking up to Hulk Hogan, uh, being part of the fan base. Um, and then fast forward all these years, he dies. I really don't care. My thoughts are really just bye Felicia and fuck Terry. And I think that does s- go to show a lot of um, the way you live matters, and you'll
Hmm.
be remembered for how you lived, especially how you finished your race. Because there's a lot of people who have probably done a lot worse things than Hulk Hogan,
Yep.
but have had better redemption arcs. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They had better third chapters where they were able to finish strong by redeeming themselves over some of the maybe more public tragedies that they have been. Mike Tyson, I think, is a great example. Mike Tyson had, the same type of unbelievable heights of sports success,
Hmm.
was, as far as we know, guilty of some really terrible, terrible
Yes.
things, but managed to put together a third act where he just seems to have become, a decently guy. Most people think he's like really wonderful in his sort of Uncle Mike Tyson phase, and people can hold all that together. They can hold together the career. They can say, "Oh, yeah, there was some unfortunate chapters." But also, damn, Mike faced it like a man and rebuilt his life, and people are happy for him. Hulk Hogan just didn't really ever give us that third chapter, at least not in the way people believe, right? Um,
Hmm. It may be because the persona that we got to know for Hulk Hogan was fake. His heroicism was fake. It was scripted,
yeah, yeah,
and that's sort of a price he inadvertently paid. But let's be honest. What does it matter? He's gone. You
yeah,
can't change it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
evidently, he wasn't looking to. He wasn't looking to be publicly redeemed, was he?
yeah. Yeah. Um, and so I would say then too, it's interesting that some of the people in the chat, some of the people in this community, they've become heroes to me, really important people in my life. And so it's interesting how also we should just stop worshiping celebrities altogether, but definitely like, just think about the people we are lucky to have in our lives, the people that,
Hmm.
if they passed, that would be a real loss for us. And yeah, try to love on and celebrate those people. They're probably not famous, but you will miss them much more than these celebrities who none of us have ever actually even met. Um, but yeah, gang, that's gonna do it for us. If you enjoyed the show, please hit that like button, and give us a sub if you haven't.
Hmm.
Otherwise, if you watch later, please leave us a comment. Always really appreciate seeing the comments that people who watch later leave. And otherwise, there's a Discord server I think you can get to from the description, and hopefully also a link to our gather. They might be on the link tree. But yeah, appreciate everybody. We'll see you next time. Be good to yourselves.
and each other.
All right. We'll see.